Penguins. They're cute, they like tobogganing, and they're expert swimmers. They can hold their breath for 20 minutes, dive deeper down than the Empire State Building is high, and some swim faster than you or I can run. But this prowess in the sea wouldn't exist today if their ancestors didn't retire from the skies around 80 million years ago. Penguin ancestors used to both fly and swim. Usually, animals took flight because it was so awesome. Come on, who doesn't want to fly? Especially penguins. 100-mile migration? Pfft, no problem. And they'd sure make seals look dumb. But while flying is great at making you tough to beat dinner, it requires a ton of energy. So if you live in an area with little food or in a harsh climate, you know, like a frozen tundra, it's not a good idea to spend all of your energy flapping your wings. This is why something changed. The evolution most likely started when some penguin ancestors were lucky enough to be born with wings that were better for swimming instead of flying. Poorly designed wings may seem like a disadvantage, but this gave a few individuals the competitive edge. Because flying cost even more energy, these penguins flew less and swam more. While some of these mutants were probably more likely to be eaten because they couldn't fly as well, this wasn't as important as swimming was in the long run. And after a while of Darwin choosing flippers over wings, the transition to the water began and a few changes followed. With a higher chance of being eaten, it wasn't just those who were good swimmers who survived, it was those who were the best swimmers. Once flying stopped, body sizes grew, which meant penguins were more insulated, which meant they could dive deeper, increasing their chances of finding food. The breast muscles that control the now flippers became specialized, to the point where penguins today can use them to regulate their internal temperature and oxygen stores to dive for as long as possible. Now, this isn't to say that both flying and swimming is impossible. Today, there are a lot of birds that can do both. The murre, for example, does both, but it occupies a specific niche. Because murres need long wings to fly, there's more drag when swimming, which means they can't dive for more than a minute or two. They need to be small because of how much energy flying takes, and a bigger body would be too costly, so they can't dive very deep either. Murres and others have found a happy medium between the two, but it doesn't change the fact that flying and swimming don't mix. In order to fly, an animal needs to have a specific anatomy. Light bones, light bodies, and air pockets in the feathers all make flying easier, but add buoyancy. So while it's entirely possible penguin ancestors could have continued to fly and swim and still be around today, once they were forced to compete against swimmers only, the ones who kept flying were outmatched and the flying genes eventually died out. In penguins' various environments around the world, it made more sense to exploit the low dive cost and avoid the high fly cost. The penguins we know and love today all came from their ancestors who flew, but all it took was a few mistakes in the code and millions of years to produce the flightless divers they are now. While the mutation to swim instead of fly may have been a random error, the result was anything but random.